Hello everybody and welcome to the Importance of Routines webinar for children over 10 years. So today's session will be facilitated by myself, Rebecca Penny. So I am one of the parent support workers for the Starting Well partnership, Wyre Forest. I am based at the Brookside Family Hub in Kidderminster and the Half Crown Wood Family Hub in Stourport-on-Severn. Today's session is going to be looking at why it's beneficial to have a routine, thinking of things to consider when establishing a routine, thinking of any changes to routines. We're also going to give an example of a routine if this is something that's new to you as well, some tips for success, and then look at some support resources and signposting. And then you're welcome to contact us if after this webinar you do feel that you need any extra support or have any questions as well. So why is it important to have a routine? So children like predictable and consistent routines. This helps them to feel safe and secure and helps them to know and feel confident what is happening around them in their day-to-day lives. So children who feel safe and secure are then able to develop at their appropriate ages and stages of development. So not only both physically, but in their social and emotional development as well. So routines can help to create a timetable as well for those parts of the day that sometimes families find a little bit difficult. So there are more benefits to also having a routine, which also include helping the child to feel safe and secure. It can help to create more quality time for families to spend that time together. It can help to relieve any stress and anxiety levels for both children and parents as well. We can help to empower parents in their confidence to parent and supporting the child's growth and development. And then we can help children to feel valued and included in decision making as well. And especially as your child gets older, so thinking about as they're becoming teenagers, we can really help to discuss with your child any routine you're thinking of having in place and really value their ideas and creativity around implementing the routine as well. And this way, this can help there to be less resistance. So when new changes are put in place, sometimes children will resist if it's something that's very new for them. So this can just help to ease any resistance that there might be. So just thinking of then some things to consider when establishing a routine. So you might want to think about the parts of the day that you already find easy. So what are those things that you can already manage in your day-to-day life and everyday routines? And what are those things that you find more difficult? So thinking about whereabouts in the day you want this particular routine to be, and where it is that you want to highlight and make those changes. So you might want to think then about the order of your routine. So is it going to flow into what's already happening in your day? Is it that you want to have a routine over the whole day? So thinking about how many things you want your child to follow. Does it follow in a logical pattern or a logical order as well? So taking those things into consideration. So how are you going to explain the routine to your child? So, when thinking about children over the age of 10, like I said, it's always good to engage with them and gain their ideas and how they feel about the new routine. So really, ask them, what they would like the routine to look like, really take that on board. And if your child is quite creative as well, it's something that they might like to actually create and develop themselves. And again, this can make it really nice and really personalised for them as well. So how are you going to praise your child for using the routine? You know, is it going to be a routine that's just going to be for the child, or is it going to be a routine that's going to be a whole family approach? So routines can be quite good and are followed quite well in the beginning when they're very new, they're very exciting. But if it's going to be a routine that's going to be quite consistent over a period of time, you know, think about those incentives and those rewards, you know, for doing those things in their everyday routine. So, you know, thinking about your child's interests, what are they interested in, and what can we reward them and praise them for those bits of the routine that they're doing. So thinking about consistency as well. So, you know, is it going to be a short-term plan for using a new routine? Or is it going to, you might find that if it's a new routine and you start with it being very short term, if it works quite well, you might want to continue it for a bit longer. And it's good with routines that you can have that element of flexibility. So if there are things that you can identify that aren't working so well in the routine, thinking about those ways that maybe you can change and adapt the routine to suit. So we've just got a visual of how a typical teen might spend their day. So thinking about, you know, those different things that your teenager or older child are doing throughout their day, and thinking about whereabouts, you know, in their day that routine is going to fall. So is it going to encroach on anything important at that time that your child would normally do? And this, you know, is key really into how well they're going to follow the new changes and the new routine. You know, if you can fit it in to your child's day, you know, like I said, there is less chance and less likelihood then that they will have any resistance against any changes. So as we can see, you know, sleep is a key, crucial part of the children's day. You know, there's going to school, getting their work done. You know, they do have considerable time that they might want to do, you know, some leisure time and have time with their friends as well. So really thinking about those times in the day of what your child's general day already looks like, and really bear that in mind. Okay, so you might want to then, you know, once your routine's been in place for a little while, there might be some changes and points to consider as well. So thinking about extra planning. So, you know, trying to be organized, trying to make sure that the routine is going to run as smoothly as it can. So extra planning, you know, it can take up time and it can seem boring, but you know, the key is that it really does help to reduce any nagging and extra reminding that we have to say to our child or our teen. You know, I think we can all appreciate that we quite often feel as parents that we sound like a broken record. You know, and sometimes you find that we we notice our children will quite often go into a mode of selective hearing, and you know, sometimes it's because we've said something so many times, you know, they do just switch off because we've said it so many times. So you know, it might be, you know, the extra planning can help to prevent this as well. So just maybe being a little bit more organized than we would normally be. So bearing in mind as well that, you know, some children cope with changes better than others. So just to take that into account, you know, that we're not necessarily going to see these beneficial changes overnight. Again, it's something that, you know, with certain children can take longer, you know, than anticipated as well. So try not to beat yourself up, you know, make sure that we're giving enough time for that routine to be in place before we make any further changes. So there might always be as well, you know, school holidays, birthdays, celebrations, and things like that in our day-to-day lives, you know, and this is where you might decide to have that element of flexibility as well, you know. So does the routine need to be rigid and set? You know, is there going to be scope for change around these times? So taking those into consideration as well. And just not to feel guilty if you don't stick to the routine all of the time, as long as you can find that balance and you're starting to see, sort of slow, steady, positive progress, then that's really good. But we do find that, there's so many things going on in our busy lives, that we don't always have control of. And so, as parents, just remember that, it is going to be impossible to probably stick to the routine all of the time. So we've just given you now some examples of how a routine might look for older children. So again, we are giving them, to a degree, that responsibility to maybe devise the routine themselves, letting them, take charge of the routine. So again, it might be that your child wants to get creative. They might decide to use sticky notes, like the picture in the corner. So something that they can have maybe on a display board in their bedroom as they get up. It might be that you want to download a printable sheet. So there's lots of different printable routine planners that you can get online. And again, we can give this idea to your children if that's something that they want to look for as well. So it might be something just very simple as, say, a Wordle, which is in the bottom corner at the bottom. So just flash words or pictures of certain words that are just going to be that spark and that reminder that these are the things that they need to do, maybe before they leave the house, or these are the things they need to do before they go to bed. So it might just be something very simple as a reminder that your child might need if they're quite a visual learner as well. So it might be that they want to have a tick list, something that they can physically tick off, so they feel accomplished, that they've managed to accomplish what they need to in their day and feel more productive. And again, we were saying that, if your child is quite creative, they might want to use more visuals, more so than words. And again, this is another one that's in the right hand corner at the bottom. And with these routines, they can always write on affirmations to help them feel really positive that their day is going to go well as well. So just simple phrases such as, "You've got this," "I know you can do this." And just thinking about the language we use as parents as well, can we really use positive language to encourage them with the new routine as well? And again, it might be that you take the whole family approach, really encourage each other to take on board this routine and really give each other that positivity and that praise, which can go a long way. So thinking about some tips for success. So we've already mentioned about trying to plan ahead, trying to be organised, so that might be thinking and planning ahead around those school holidays, any birthdays and things that might be coming up, what plans or changes might need to take place. So just researching, why having a routine is so important. So looking at those benefits for the sleep, their diet, and just general health and well-being. Exploring this and researching this together as a whole family, can be quite educational, and again, have that less likelihood of any resistance if they can visually see and take on board why these changes are so important. And it's something that they've looked into and found out themselves, without necessarily having to be told that this is happening. So again, thinking of communication, we've said about including children in the decision making, and giving them a certain amount of control dependent on their age and stage of development and how much their understanding actually is. And thinking about family goals and rewards. So how often are you going to review your progress, maybe as a whole family? You know, what are those things that you still need to work towards, and what are going to be those goals and rewards at the end to really keep it positive and really, you know, keep that incentive going. So thinking about communication, you know, communicating the changes and the new routine with your children. So some children, you know, or some families as well might notice that they might just need additional resources to help with this new transition. So, you know, just making sure that you find the right time in your day, that you've got adequate time to have a sit down and discuss and approach this subject, you know, so it's not feeling rushed. It's not something that's suddenly put on. You know, you might find you want to have a couple of weeks where you take time each week just to highlight and approach these new changes. So finding it at that pace, that steady pace that's right for your family. So we were saying about the use of language. So, you know, thinking about that positivity, thinking about that language, you know, there's lots of downloadable affirmations that you can get, you know, really just to bring that bit of positivity to those changes, that these changes are going to be a good thing for the whole family and they are going to be beneficial. So you might find, you know, that your child, if they can't necessarily express how they're feeling about the changes to yourself, as a family, it might be that they want to talk about it with any friends or family members. So, you know, do they have that access, you know, to be able to socialize with their friends and talk these things through? Do they have that trusted member within the family that they can discuss their feelings and thoughts with around these changes? It might be, if it's not a family friend or a family member, it could be, you know, a teacher at school or college or anybody in an educational setting maybe as well. So sometimes when, you know, new changes come, you know, sometimes we can all feel a bit anxious, not quite sure what to expect. And fidget toys are really, really good. Again, these are used by adults and children as well. So just giving them that focus on something else, just to take their mind and anxiety away from, you know, what might be playing on their mind. And there's a range of these that you can get online as well. Visual prompts are really, really good. You know, again, this might be how you decide that you want the routine to look like. So not having any words as such, but just a nice visual. Or you might choose visuals just as, you know, kind of highlighting that initial conversation about routines. So, you know, just as a visual prompt to spark that conversation and that communication around the changes that are going to take place. And sometimes if there are children or teenagers with additional needs, again, you know, these resources are really, really good to have to hand. Thinking about visual timers as well. So, you know, sometimes we just like to know how much time we're going to have to do something specific. So it might be that you choose to use the clock, you know, if they've got a clock in their bedroom, clocks within the house. Visual sand timers are quite good as well. Again, these are things that can be set and used by your own children as well. And sometimes you might find electronics, you know, they might come into play. If they might have a timer on their phone that they want to use, or on their tablet. And again, you know, these can take away, you know, us as parents having to nag and remind our children as well. If you've got either an Alexa in the household, or again, you know, they can use reminders on their phones or on tablets. Again, this takes that job away from us as parents, just to make our lives a bit easier, but to give our children and teenagers that control that they're needing and that bit more independence as they're getting older. So we do have some really good signposting that if you go onto these websites, there's some really good information around looking at routines and establishing these. And if you are feeling that you need any further support or you have any questions, you can go to the Starting Well page where you can make a request for parenting support if you do feel that you need any additional support, or you are welcome to contact me, you know, when we email this out to you on the number and email provided as well. Okay, so thank you everybody. Bye-bye.